Hi, I'm in Barra. We are in Barra de Navidad. I with my new friend Kacper.
Hello guys, mucho gusto.
I met him like in a restaurant. It was super interesting because he has like a nice story to tell us, and we are here for that. And so, Kacper, how was like your idea? Because you have been travel like a lot. You are now here in Mexico, but you start in Alaska, right?
Yeah, I started in Alaska about
Okay.
8.5 months ago.
Wow. So how was like your idea to do this trip?
So basically, maybe let's start from my first big trip because that's where it really started. So basically, when I was 18 years old and I finished my high school, I had this big desire to explore, and I wanted to travel since I remember. My family was a big inspiration. They were always taking me to different places, and as a kid I was already very aware that the world is beautiful, and this feeling of excitement, of adrenaline, being in different places was always tempting to me. So when I was 18, I worked for a little while in the local cinema in my city, and I was collecting money to go around the world at the time. I wanted to go around the world by hitchhiking, but at the time I didn't have a lot of money, and maybe I was too ambitious and I had not too much experience. So my trip ended up after 4 months. I made around 13,000 kilometers around Europe and North Africa, mostly Morocco. And so I didn't go around the world, but I saw a lot of places. I had my first experiences sleeping alone in my tent. I remember when I was leaving my home, the day that I was leaving in the morning, I was sitting in the table with my family, and they were like, "Are you sure that you wanna do that?" And they were actually trying to convince me to stay and like try to study and stuff. But I knew it's not for me, and I just left. The first hitchhike that I had was almost 3,000 kilometers, so I was very lucky. So after 2 days I was already in Switzerland. Then from there I passed through France, Spain. I stayed for 1 month in Barcelona, living in the squad. I learned how to juggle, how to do branzolets, which I would later on sell on the streets, and that's how I was making money. Also juggling, people would always give me something to eat or give me like 20 euros. So that's how I was surviving. But at some point I realized that some money would be useful for such a long trip, and at the end I returned back home. I was trying to work for about 1 month, but my idea at the time, that was the first time when I started to think about bicycle, because hitchhiking it's a very nice experience. You can meet a lot of nice people, but you are not fully independent, and that's what I was looking for. I wanted to be independent. I didn't want to sit again for 7 hours and wait for someone to pick me up. So that's where I started to think about bicycle, and my first idea was to ride from Poland to India. I wanted to ride around India, go to Nepal, China, Mongolia, and go all the way back by Russia. But there was a lot of complications. First of all, I needed lots of visas to most of the countries. Then the war between the invasion of Russia on Ukraine started. So that was not the best idea to go to Russia at the time, and that was like the biggest part of my trip. And at the time I started to look at the map again, and for some reason Alaska always was my dream destination, and I looked at the map, I pointed with my finger Alaska, and then I followed all the way down to the land as much as I could. I was like, okay, let's do Alaska-Patagonia tour. At the time I didn't even know that this is a pretty popular destination for travelers. Then I found out when I met a lot of people doing the same thing. But yeah, that was the first idea at the end of 2021, I think. Yeah, the end of 2021. In January I was already very motivated. I was working in UK for about 50 hours a week, trying to save as much money as I can. No, sorry. The first idea of Asia was in 2020, and that's when I moved to England. And I remember I was working for 1 month in England, and the pandemic started. So I couldn't work anymore, but I was lucky enough that in the UK there was a law that if you were full-time employed, they needed to pay you money after like pandemic started.
Yeah,
so I found myself in situation where they would send me every 2 weeks 500 pounds, and for me as a Polish person it was like a blessing. I was like, where is this money coming from? So I had nothing to do, I had money. So as always, like my thoughts came to traveling, and I bought a bicycle for like 20 pounds, super shitty one, with not properly working gear. I bought one pannier bag and I did a test ride. I did 100 miles from London to the coast. I slept under the cliff, and the next day I went back, and I completely fell in love with like traveling and camping on the bike. So again, I looked at the map of England and I had a couple of ideas. First one was to go to Scotland, but then I talked to my friends from UK and I ended up going to Cornwall, which is like the most western part of UK. So for 1 month I rode like almost entire south coast of England, and that was amazing trip. I didn't care about anything. I had money, I didn't have any problems. I was sleeping on the beaches, being very free and happy. And yeah, then I wanted more, so I decided that as soon as pandemic gonna finish, I'm gonna go back to Poland on the bicycle. And in 2021 I did that. I rode back to Poland on the bike, and I wanted more again. So that's where I started to think about Asia, and then at the end about Alaska. So I was working hard January, February, March, and in March I bought a ticket to Iceland, and from Iceland to Alaska. And 15th of May 2022 I flew to Iceland. I did a little bike tour there, 10 days to the Snæfellsnes Peninsula and back. And from there I flew to Alaska, and that's where this journey started.
Wow, that's amazing. Then the second question is, what's the best and the worst thing until now in your journey?
Well, let's start maybe from the worst thing. It was actually recently in Sayulita. It's about like 300 kilometers from here. Maybe it wasn't the worst moment, but it was pretty scary. So it was a long day riding. I did about 140 kilometers that day, and I went to sleep just like on the beach, not putting my tent, and I was so tired that I put my phone next to me, and I was just laying, and I didn't hide it, and I fell asleep. And I'm waking up and I can't see my phone. So I took my computer and I am trying to localize it, and someone turned it off, so I couldn't even see where it is. So I already agreed that my phone is stolen. I started to ride with the girl that I was riding with at the time. And that was heavy because I didn't have any backup. I didn't have my pictures and videos saved in any cloud. So everything was lost from like 8 months trip. So that was painful.
Yeah.
And But the story actually finished good. I arrived to Puerto Vallarta, I take my computer again, and I see the phone moving in Sayulita. So I leave my bike, I go to the bus, and with my computer I go back to Sayulita. So I was going from one Wi-Fi to the other, trying to follow the movement of the phone. And at some point it stopped at one of the campgrounds on the beaches. So I go there, I talked to the guys on the reception, and they were like, "Is it a red phone?" I was like, "Yes, it's a red phone, did you see it?" They were like, "Yeah, there was one guy that came and sold it to someone on the campground." It's like, "Please find this guy, I will pay whatever he wants, but I need to have this phone back." So there he comes, someone sold it to him for like 600 pesos. And I had like 300 pesos at the time. I was like, you know, I would like to pay you 600, it's nothing, but I have 300 at the time, that's what I can offer you. He was like, okay, you can have it, but you're gonna wash dishes for 2 hours in the restaurant. I was like, okay, fine, like, I don't have a choice. Like, no, I'm joking, and he gave me a phone. So yeah, that was scary, but also very lucky. But like, considering that the whole trip, it's 8 months, it's nothing. Yeah,
Yes.
it's really nothing. One time on the whole journey, police woke me up in my place at night, but like, I am camping anywhere usually, and in States they are pretty strict in some places when it's a private beach or something. Part of that, not really any issues. The best things, I think, the best are just moments, you know, you never know when, but right people in the right place at the right time make the best experiences.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, there was so many good things every day. Almost every day was happening something good, sometimes very good, but it's hard to choose one thing that was the best, you know. But
I
like,
like that.
every morning that I am waking up and opening my eyes and like realizing where I am, that's the beauty of that.
Yes.
You know, it's like, you never know what's gonna happen, and that's what I love. I don't like when my life it's routine, you know.
Yeah.
I like things that are unexpected.
As a life.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
I like to live an adventure. I love adrenaline, so I like when it's risky. I like when it's, you know.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question is like, I think also about like money and that. Have you worked in? I think you told us before, but what's about that? You know, because I think some people is like kind of scary of like, oh, I don't have enough money to work and travel and that.
It's all about the right plan. Couple of days ago, there's another guy from Belgium traveling, and I saw his post on Instagram, and he was like, "Oh no, my money is disappearing so fast. I have only 8,000 euros left." And I was thinking, I started this tour having $3,000. So it's all about your mindset. If you are not scared to work, if you have a plan, and if you will not be disappointed with not finishing your tour. I don't need to finish my tour. I would be very happy if I need to finish right now. I saw so many things, I experienced so much that if I would need to finish now, it's okay.
I love that.
It's okay. You know? I was working for 2 years in UK, pretty much saving for this trip. I mean, I didn't have nothing coming to UK. I didn't have a phone because I broke it a couple of weeks before. So I came with the piece of paper with the address of my uncle to UK, and I would just ask people how to get there. And I found a job in 2 days. Then I bought a phone, I bought a computer, I bought shoes, clothes, bike, and at the end tickets and all the equipment necessary for travel.
Perfect. After Mexico, what is next?
So from here I'm gonna follow the Pacific coast probably until Guatemala. And the plan now is to pass Central America before the rainy season. And I would like to get to Panama somewhere around May. And in Panama, that's where the tricky part starts, because the border between Panama and Colombia. It's called the Darien Gap, and it's the only part on this road when there is not a road. And this region is famous of their like drug traffickers, corruption. So there was a lot of people that went to the Darien Gap and never went outside, or went in their panties without anything, without their phones, bikes, you know, money. So my plan there is to buy a kayak or canoe. I started to ride with some people that are riding the same direction lately, and maybe we're gonna do it in the crew, but we want to swim in the canoe along the Panama coast. It's a good place to kayak because there are islands separating the open sea from the coast, and you can actually sleep on the empty islands along the way.
Nice.
So yeah, that's the plan, to get to South America. And then if we gonna manage to do that, we'll see what's gonna happen. We'll see what the life brings, but I want to get to Patagonia at some point. But not necessarily. We will see what's gonna happen.
Perfect. That's super nice to hear. And what you can tell the guys, you know, like they are interested to travel and that. What is the thing you can like tell them?
Don't think too much. I mean, like, be responsible and plan some basic things, have some medicines and some contacts, ask some locals about the best thing. I think if you think about safety on the road, it's just to talk to locals, because locals know exactly where you can go or where you shouldn't go. So I'm always trying to talk to people, and when I am in the city, like now we are in Barra, I'm working in the restaurant, I am talking to almost every customer and asking, where would you go in my place? Would you go to the mountains, to Guadalajara and by the mountains, or would you follow the coast, or maybe something else? And you know, when you heard 100 people and 80 people say go along the coast, probably the best choice is to go along the coast. And I always ask people about their favorite places, and I am pinning them on the map, so then when I am getting somewhere I can see some pins and I can choose where I want to go, what looks interesting. And what else to say for the new travelers? Just try, like it's,
Do it.
you know, you can wait and die, you know, life it's not endless. You're gonna die one day, it's sad, but this is life and it's all in your hands. You can use this time working until you are 60 and start traveling when you are retired, as most of the people.
But do you want that?
But do you want that, you know? Like,
How old
look
are
around,
you?
show them where we are, you know?
Yeah. How old are you? Because also I think that's important thing, like for date, you know, like.
I am 22, but I started traveling by myself when I was 16.
Okay, so that's for me like oh my god, I'm doing well, you know.
Yeah.
So it's always a time like trying now.
Yeah, exactly. Just give it a try. You don't need to go from Alaska to Patagonia, but like go around your country, see what's going on, see if you like it. It's for sure not for everybody. Pedaling 100 kilometers per day, it's tiring. It's not easy. It's not paradise. There is a lot of tough moments. And one time I was even considering going back home. I got very sick. There were tough conditions in Oregon and California. I was there too late. It was very cold and I had ear infection. I was just feeling done. I was like, okay, if I'm not gonna get better in like next week, I'm going back. But I got better, so here I am.
Here I am. In Mexico and enjoying this weather. So yeah,
it's amazing. I was checking yesterday in my city. It's like -2 at night. During the day, like 0, 1, 2 degrees. So here, I don't remember when I saw clouds or rain last time. It's pretty boring. It's like 30 degrees every day. But yeah, I love it. Like, it's nice to have some clouds sometimes. but just sometimes.
Well, thank you so much, Kacper. How do you say, like, buen viaje? You know,
Gracias.
like,
Yeah.
have a good journey.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's the end of the travel now. Thank you.